You can become a better musician in 2022 as long as you go into the new year with a game plan. On today's video, we're going to be talking about the top guitar resolutions you need to follow to become a better shredder in 2022. Well, hey there kids, it's your good buddy Uncle Ben. Yeah, of course we all want to become better guitar players, and there's no better time to start setting new goals for yourself than the new year. So to help you in your quest for musical dominance, I've come up with a handful of ideas that you guys can add into your daily playing routine that are going to help you out whether you're a rhythm guitar player and trying to learn more chord voicings, trying to learn the fretboard better, or improve your chops and scale playing as a lead player. Whatever your skill level and intentions are, there's something in this video that's going to help you out. As always, this video is brought to you guys by my lovely and loyal Patreon community over at patreon.com/Ben Eller Guitars. Sign up today even for just a $1 a month level and you're going to get access to a ton of bonus lessons, backing tracks, and so much more. Plus access to an awesome community of people just like yourself. So don't delay, sign up today over at patreon.com/Ben Eller Guitars. Gear-wise for today's video, I'm playing my lovely Ibanez RG3120, which I've just realized is old enough to go to the liquor store and buy itself a beer. This guitar has Sir Aldrich pickups in it, and I'm playing it through the Fractal Audio Axe-FX3. So the first resolution that we're going to talk about here is one that will benefit like 99% of all guitar players. Make 2022 the year that you finally buckle down and learn the damn notes on the fretboard. From my experience, guitar players tend to be some of the most musically illiterate players out there, and that's a real shame because if you don't know what notes you're actually playing, you're limiting how much you can communicate with other players, especially those that don't play a guitar or a bass. There's a lot of different ways to learn the notes on the neck, and frankly, I think most of them are really bad approaches, namely the full chromatic approach, where you're just supposed to like stare at that, guitar notes poster you have hanging on your wall and go, fret number 1 is F, fret number 2 is F sharp, fret number 3 is G. I think that is the worst possible way to approach it. Now, around this time last year, I put out a video called, let's check, This is Why You Suck at Guitar, You Don't Know the Fretboard, in which I outlined a couple of my own strategies for learning the notes all across the neck. I recommend that you guys watch that video. I think it's actually one of the most comprehensive videos on learning the notes that I've ever put out. And there's also a bonus Patreon video to go along with that one that shows you even more details about how you can learn the notes on the neck. And notice that I used the term learn the notes, not memorize the notes. I think most of the methods that we've been given involve memorization. I don't want you to memorize the board. Memorization requires maintenance. I want you to learn the notes on the board. And in that video, there's a lot of different strategies of how to do that. But let me give you a little bit of extra advice here to make the whole process a little less painless. Rather than trying to learn all 12 of the notes, what I recommend that you do is you just learn the 7 natural notes on every string. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, the natural musical alphabet, right? Now the reason that I recommend you do that is because think of it this way. If you know where every A note is, then don't you by default also know where every A flat is? Because it's going to be the note a half step below it, right? So if you know every A, you also know every A flat. A flat, A flat, A flat, and so on. And by proxy, you also know where every A sharp is, right? Because if you know where A is, you'll also know that A sharp is the note a half step above it. So just by learning the note A on every string, you actually learn 3 notes, A flat, and A sharp. You don't even really have to bother learning the sharps and flats if you know where the naturals are really, really, really well. Learn the naturals first. It's going to get you started on really finally learning the notes, not just simply memorizing them. The next resolution you should have is to learn how to equally divide your playing time among the 3 main musical food groups for any developing musician: warm-ups, improvising, and playing songs. Okay, warm-ups. I find especially the older that I get, the more important it is that I carve out a little bit of time at the start of my musical day to do some simple chromatic drills and warm-ups and stuff. I've found over the years that the best way for me to get warmed up at the start of the day and get my hands really synchronized and stuff is to practice with speed bursts rather than just full-on straight 16th notes or something like that. One of my absolute favorite speed burst exercises is chronicled in a video I put out recently called How to Build Alternate Picking Speed. This works. It's got that thumbnail right there. This video shows you guys an excellent chromatic speed burst exercise that's really going to get your playing super fast and super clean, as well as help you reduce tension when you're playing fast. I do this exercise seriously like every day and before every show. It's maybe my favorite warm-up exercise that I've ever found. Really, any kind of chromatic finger blaster exercise like that is going to be a great thing to do to warm up at the start of the day. A little while back on my channel, I put up a video called Uncle Ben Eller's 5 favorite exercises for maximum picking speed gains. Very succinct title. It's got that thumbnail right there. You can find it here on my channel. In that video, I show you guys a handful of my favorite chromatic variations, including one that I call the Tomo. That's really great to get all your hand fingers working well with each other, as well as some other ways to divide up the chromatic thing into like 1, 3, 2, 4 for variety and stuff. Honestly, I advise you guys to find the one that really aggravates you the most and stick with it. This is really tough to follow this, but a few years ago I saw a quote from the amazing drummer Jojo Mayer where he basically said, if you're practicing and it sounds good, you're not practicing. And that made me really kind of sad and angry to hear, but I also took it to heart and realized that I was spending so much time practicing things that I was already good at. Why do that, right? Move on to the stuff that you suck at. Embrace the suck. If you're practicing something and it doesn't sound great, excellent. That means you're working on new territory for yourself. So try to find the stuff that you suck at the most and spend the most time practicing that. And one more thing about those exercises, because I know somebody's going to ask. The most time that you should be spending on any single exercise is 5 minutes. That's it, just 5 minutes. Set a timer, do whatever exercise it is that you're doing, and when 5 minutes is up, that's the most that you're going to get out of it. It's been proven in studies over and over again that the human brain builds new muscle memory and builds new neurons and stuff like that in 5-minute intervals whenever it's receiving new information. So set a timer, 5 minutes, that's your maximum. The next thing to work on every day is improv. If I could go back in time and tell young Uncle Ben something, I would say spend less time with that metronome and spend more time jamming and improvising. I think it's truly the best way to get yourself completely in tune with your instrument, build up a good intuitive language of how to navigate this thing, and it's also a great way to explore the sound of new scales and modes that you might not be familiar with. Now, of course, back then I was learning how to play guitar, in covered wagon times by candlelight and stuff. I didn't have YouTube with a ton of backing tracks and stuff on it, so it was a little bit harder for me. But these days, you can find a backing track to go along with any scale, in any key, in any style of music, and I recommend that you do that every single day. A really great idea is to simply find a scale that you don't know. Like, let's say a Lydian scale. Maybe you've heard about Steve Vai and Joe Satriani using that Lydian scale, but you don't know how to play it. Well, go on Google, just type in a Lydian scale pattern. First one that you find, be sure to get that thing and memorize how to play it. Maybe it looks something like this. And then what I want you to do is to go here on YouTube and type in a Lydian backing track. And I bet you're going to find at least a dozen different A-Lydian based backing tracks in different styles and at different tempos. Just scroll through them until you find one that you like the sound of. And what I want you guys to do is to turn that track on and simply play up and down that scale pattern. Something like this. Just a great way to internalize the sound of that scale and get to know what it smells like, you know what I mean? I always tell people a backing track is like a metronome with music attached to it. You're still getting all the benefits of practicing with a metronome. You're going to be playing in time, working on your groove, only now you get to hear all this stuff in context. After that, go on Google and try to find another A-Lydian scale pattern. Maybe this one right here. Do the same thing with that. Practice up and down that scale pattern. Then maybe even try combining it with the first scale pattern that you learned. Now you got a swath of the neck covered that's like this big, and you've done it just by jamming and improvising rather than staring at charts hoping your brain memorizes them. This is the absolute best way to learn scales and improve yourself as a musician, so do not skimp out on this. Most backing tracks you can find are just like 6 to 8 minutes long, something like that. You can squeeze one of those in every single day. You could even pick a different mode every day, use a backing track to play along with it, and within a week get an idea of how all 7 of those major modes sound: Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, and Locrian. You could do that in a week and get to know all of those scales really well. The track I was using right here is from my good buddy Quist on YouTube, Quist. I've been using his channel for years and years because you can basically type in any scale with any root note. Type in E, Locrian, backing track, Quist, and you'll probably find one. His stuff is a really great resource, so I recommend using that as well as taking advantage of all the other jam tracks that are here on YouTube to help yourself become a better improviser. And the last part of the musical food pyramid you should be pursuing every single day is playing songs start to finish. Just going on YouTube or going on Spotify or whatever, cranking it up, turning up your guitar, and playing along with your favorite songs. It's one of those things that's kind of mind-boggling because I find that most players are really deficient in this, when at the end of the day, what is the entire point of getting good at this thing if not to play music? But playing music is the one thing that most of us don't do on a daily basis. It's just kind of mind-blowing when you think about it that way. I could sit here and talk at length about the benefits of playing through entire songs, but I think to get the most out of it, you should watch the video that I put out a little bit under a year ago on my channel called "This is Why You Suck at Guitar, You Don't Play Enough Songs." Look at it this way: whenever you're practicing an exercise, you're working on one technique, right? Alternate picking, fingering, whatever it is that you're working on. But whenever you play through an entire song, it is making your brain go through such gymnastics and jump through so many hoops to go from alternate picking in the verse to strumming power chords in the chorus to playing scalar stuff in the solo. You play an entire song and it's like a total body workout for yourself as a player. And again, yet most of us don't do that on a daily basis. So be sure to make playing complete songs, start to finish, a part of your routine every single day. The next resolution you should make for yourself is to improve your chord vocabulary. Because it doesn't matter if you're a rhythm guitar player or lead guitar player or whatever. If you know where to find chord positions all over the neck, you're going to be able to really add in a lot of variety to your rhythm and comping. And also, if you know where to find those chord positions, it means you'll be able to target those notes better whenever you're doing some scale playing and soloing over those chords. Now, a little while back on my channel, I put out a video called "Ditch the Caged System," which, funny enough, in that entire video, I literally never talk about ditching the cage system. I don't really have anything against the cage system. It was actually Rick Beata's idea to title the video that to get a lot of hits, and it did work. Anyway, in that video, I put out a concept that my old guitar teacher, Benjamin Franklin, showed me that really helped me understand the neck better and see the potential for playing chord shapes all over the place. Here's the idea from that video in a nutshell. Within any 4-fret span on the guitar, in other words, the 4-finger comfort zone of the neck, within any 4-fret stretch, you have access to all 12 notes in any position. So for example, if you need a G down here, there's a couple of them. If you need a G note here, there's a couple of them. Now with that in mind, that helps you break away from the idea that certain chords exist in certain fret ranges. So like for example, like with myself, I always thought of a G chord as being a fret 3 chord, like most of us, you know? Or a B chord as being a fret 2 chord. But in reality, you could find the notes to build those chords in any position. That little bit of knowledge came in handy years ago when I started playing in cover bands, because what I would end up doing is having to vamp a simple chord progression for like minutes while, you know, our singer was asking everybody to tip their bartender and stuff like that. I started getting bored with my typical positions of stuff like G, C, D, right? That became boring to me. So while I was on stage waiting for a singer to get done talking and talking and talking, what I would do is look down at the neck and find different ways to make all those chords. And I'd limit myself and say, okay, I'm just gonna play on the top 3 strings of the guitar. And I'd try to find different locations to put those chords in, with the knowledge that all of the notes in the chords occur within every 4-fret span of the guitar. So for example, the G chord is the notes G, B, D, right? So I could find those right here, G, D, B, The C chord is the note C, E, G, C, E, G. And the D chord is the notes D, F sharp, A. So D, F sharp, A. I could find those chords with these grips instead. I'd sit there and vamp on that for a while until I found the next set that I could use, like this. G, C, D. G, C, D. Then maybe I get around to this. G, C, D. G, C, D. So I could put all those together and end up with something like this. G, C, D, G, C, D, G, C, D, G, C, D. I recommend that you take a simple chord progression like G, C, D and isolate yourself to like 3-string groups and find different ways to play those chords everywhere. So maybe you do the D, G, and B strings next and you find G, C, D, G, C, D, G, C, D on those strings, moving up the neck like that too. If you're a rhythm guitar guy, that's going to allow you to spice up your chord voicings a lot, and if you're a lead guitar guy, that's going to allow you to land on chord tones with more confidence and authority every single time. One thing you should definitely make a resolution to do in 2022 is to take some gosh darn guitar lessons, guys. You can never be too old, too advanced, or too young and inexperienced to take guitar lessons from a great player and learn something new. This is especially valuable for players who end up kind of getting stuck in a rut like we all do at some point, where you just feel like you're playing the same old stuff that you always play, never trying something new. Taking a lesson with a really great player who can teach you something new is all that you need to break out of that rut and start looking at the guitar in a brand new way. For example, in 2020, I took advantage of the fact that so many of my friends weren't out touring and took a bunch of lessons myself with some of my favorite players who are also great buddies of mine that showed me a lot of great stuff. I did a few lessons with Dave Davidson from Revocation. He helped me with some ideas regarding improvising over like jazzy chord changes and stuff that I still work on to this day. Dave's an amazing teacher and as far as I know is still taking students. Be sure to drop him a message on Instagram or his email or whatever. Also took a couple lessons from my good buddy Emil Wursler, who you guys might know from Doth, Chimera, or his solo project Verlorener. Emil's an insane player and a great friend of mine, and we did some lessons together talking about stuff like harmony and phrasing and also technique, because good lord, Emil's picking technique is absolutely insane. He gave me a lot of new stuff to think about. My good buddy Wes Houck is an absolutely devastating player. If you've not checked him out, be sure to do so and listen to Alluvial. The newest Alluvial record is one of the best metal records of 2021, maybe the best one, honestly. And I've done a bunch of lessons with him just to pick his brain about how he thinks about phrasing and arpeggios and vibrato. He's just an animal of a player, so I definitely recommend hitting that guy up and learning something new from him. Another guy that helped me get through some technical ruts in my playing through 2020 and 2021 is my good buddy John Bjork. This guy is an alternate picking and economy picking genius. I think he just has incredibly clean and efficient technique. And he's also a really excellent teacher. Be sure to hit him up for some lessons. He's definitely the guy to talk to if you want to build up your technique and get your chops burning. Unfortunately, the world of touring is a little bit uncertain and limited for the majority of us for the foreseeable future, but you can take advantage of that and help your favorite player pay their bills by hitting them up and asking if they have some time for some one-on-one lessons. So be sure to hit them up sometime throughout 2022 and learn yourself something new. So there you go, guys, a handful of New Year's resolutions for us guitar players to make you into a more better player in 2022. Make these things a priority, and I guarantee by the end of the year, you're going to be a completely different player, in a good way. Thank you guys so much for watching and liking this video. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and ring the bell for notifications every time I upload a brand new slice of fried gold. You guys can also help support my channel and gain access to a ton of bonus lessons, backing tracks, and downloadable tabs over on my Patreon page at patreon.com/Ben Eller Guitars. Even $1 a month gets you access to a ton of goodies, so don't delay. Sign up today. Be sure to let me know what your musical resolutions for the year 2022 are down there in the comments section below. I'd love to know what you guys are working on or working towards. That way I can help you get there. Thanks as always for watching. I hope everybody out there has a safe and happy new year. Now get away from the computer and go play some guitar. Less clicking, more picking.